Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Ruthless. We're back for another review of Ruthless. We're on season 5, episode 13. My apologies on not getting an episode 12 review out to you guys. We didn't really miss much. You'll kind of get the gist of what happened last week within this video. If not, ask questions in the comments and I'll do what I can to clear up anything. And if you really need a blow-by-blow recap, there are tons of capable people on the YouTubes that I watch after I make my video that you could go over and check out to get last week's if that's what you need. My apologies again. I was under the weather, still a little bit under, but I'm still going to get a video out to you guys. Either way, again, we're on season 5, episode 13, entitled I Am a Soldier. So we're going to pick back up. We're picking back up with Obadiah trying to chop River in half. He is trying to make the new Daikon meet the old Daikon in the Rakadushi afterlife, right? Because he thinks that River has something to do with his position being threatened as headmaster over the children, when it was, in actuality, it was Ruth. She was whispering that in the Highest's ear on last week. And then we see Glitch, Heat, and Peter. They kind of run up before things get too sticky, and River is unconsolable. Like, he is cussing, he is outraged, and he's like, all that brother bull crap, like, y'all, in this place I'm sick of. Like, he just really he's giving, like, the old Daikon is giving that type of fall apartness right now. And so he storms away. And so we see Obadiah, the guys that ran up didn't really see him trying to unalive River. And so he's trying to play it off to them. And then Glitch realizes that he's seen Obadiah before and realizes that he's seen, not only has he seen Obadiah, he's seen him multiple times. And he's seen him in relation to his brother Lilo. So I'm assuming that Obadiah has been with Lilo, not been like that, but they was in some cahoots on some other type stuff. And Glitch is realizing this is who this guy is, and for once we see Obadiah kind of knocking off he's been knocked off his square, and he's kind of like, nah, I don't know you, I don't know your mama, I don't know your people, I don't want to kick with you, I don't know nothing about it. Y'all need to go find something to do. And that's interesting because we know that Obadiah is removed from this place. He doesn't even believe in the Rakadushi way. So, and that's also going to present itself a little bit within the episode. But it'll be interesting to see how that develops, to know like how Obadiah, Lilo, the Highest, how all of that works together. I'm still sticking to my theory that he is one of his mom's Johns that just kind of clung to Tyrone and has been in contact with him throughout the years, even after his mother's passing. And I think that is for a greater purpose. And I say that because we see I don't think it's in my notes, but there's a scene where Obadiah is talking to Elder Mother, and he has this sensory deprivation type of headphones on Lewis, and he's digging a knife in his gun wound, and he's trying to break him down mentally, doing some psychoanalytical type stuff where it's like, hey, all of his sensories have been deprived, and he knows that I'm not his only connection to the outside world, and his mind is going to be malleable after this torturous type of thing. Kind of like waterboarding somebody in the military, or doing some other type of psychological tactics to make somebody's mind break down and become malleable so that you can implant what you want to be in there. So it's as if Obadiah is trying to break Lewis down to make him a mean, green, killing machine that will do the bidding of the headmaster. So it seems as if Obadiah is trying to, one by one, pull people into his own cult-like situation, right from up under Tyrone's nose. And we also see that because he has Elder Mother there, like, ringing a bell, and this bell was supposed to change Lewis's mind, basically like hypnotize him into being loyal and obedient, and he thinks that this has worked. However, you'll see by the end of the episode, it has not. But this does show Elder Mother, because he's asking Elder Mother, like, hey, do you believe that there's only one true, Rakadushi interpreter, with that being the Highest? She's like, yeah, of course. And he's like, well, how did the Raku talk to him through that fetus? And she's like, okay, maybe 2. And he was like, yeah, what about 3? What about 4? What about 10? So he's probably going to try to glean people's minds into all thinking, I don't know what he's trying to do, but I think he has gleaned and he's clung to Tyrone all these years for his own selfish gain, because he knows Tyrone is very malleable, especially when he's not on his meds, which is why he got rid of his medication, and he can implant thoughts into his head. However, I don't think he anticipated there being so many people vying for the highest ear by way of Ruth, old Daikon, now dead Daikon, new Daikon, everybody. So we'll see how that develops. All right, moving on, we see the reporter. She's outside of the gate and she's making her live broadcast, and she mentions everything that her and the cameraman, quote unquote cameraman, saw while they were in there. She tells them that, hey, everything does appear peaceful and copacetic on the surface, but she felt like a evil presence looming right beneath the surface. And then she goes on to explain everything that happened with Lacey and how she was so overcome with emotion from being in that place that she did what she needed to do. And she tells them like the image of what she saw is so much that they could not play the footage, so they did not broadcast that footage of Lacey, if I'm not mistaken. And we see the heist, and he's watching that broadcast on the TV, and he's becoming more and more unraveled, because remember, his ghost mama is in his head telling him that everybody's going to leave you, nobody loves you, you know, all this. So I'm sure all this is kind of running through his mind while he's in his psychotic state. And the heist is trying to convince the TV reporter through the TV, like, hey, you know, I'm not creepy. It's not creepy in here. People love me. Basically, he's mirroring the conversations that he had with his mom. Yeah, people do love me. That's why I created this cult. People love me and they listen to me and blah, blah, blah. Trying to create this love that he has never truly felt in his life. And he's I don't know, he's really losing his crap. But of course, Ruth gonna do what she need to do about it in the episode to kind of get us back on track. Either way, Zane walks up to Ruth in the shower and sees that she's bleeding. So we can already go ahead and assume miscarriage, unfortunately. Either way, Zane thinks that it may well be a miscarriage, but Ruth is trying to convince her, like, no, it's just a UTI. Don't worry about it. It's nothing to worry about. She's like, okay, cool. I'm just here to let you know that I'm worried about the kids. It looks like Obadiah has been on them very hard. Like, he has them training, no days off, day in and day out. And it looks like he's training them for some kind of war. So again, there's another layer to Obadiah's kind of using this position and using his position in this place here in this hierarchy to, I don't know, it feels like he's siphoning people off. Like, he's got the kids, he's got Lewis that he's training to be a sensory machine. I think he tried to recruit Elder Mother. So I think just little bit by little bit, he's trying to build his own army within the loyal people to the Raku. Okay, Andrew was talking to Ruth because he called her over like, hey, I need you to go in there and do something. Like, he's losing his crap. So he's talking to Ruth and telling her like, hey, you need to go in there. You need to soothe the highest so that it'll save all of us. Like, we already know that he's off his meds, and so we need to be calm with him. We need to be coddling him a little bit. He's telling her that we need to handle him with kid gloves to kind of bring him down because he's not medicated right now. And she's like, you know, all y'all call on me day in and day out. Like, I think the stress of everything that's happening in the compound and her knowing that there's this war outside and inside of the compound that's happening, all the stress is getting too much to her, which I'm sure it's going to lend itself to her her upcoming miscarriage, unfortunately. Either way, she looks at him. She was like, listen, now that you reminded me that you're still FBI, she goes off on him. She's like, yeah, and since you mentioned that you're FBI, and you could have shut all this down a long time ago, even before the love of your life being Tally has perished under the guise of this place, and you could have ended this whole thing. And he was like, listen, I had to play my part. I had to do my job. Like, this ain't the time for you to be berating me. And she was like, what better time than now? And she knows, like, listen, I know that there's more to this Andrew thing you're giving. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure it's all going to come to the light very soon. And I agree, because I just feel like if they caught you on unaliving of them people, and you was able to escape to get back in here, you should have got in here long enough to shut this down. Like, we already know that the mission is pretty much blown at this point because you got caught up on some homicide type stuff. Not only that, but he keeps calling the FBI agent off this phone, letting him know, like, hey, The highest office rocker. I can go in there and unalive him right now. Just give me the word. Just giving a play-by-play. Yeah, the Michael or Malcolm or whatever that you were talking to on the phone is River. He's second in command. Third in command is Obadiah. Like giving him run by, all the runs down. And he keeps telling them like, hey, you need to send the cavalry in here immediately. Like shut this down right now. And I'm like, okay, cool, but I don't know. Maybe he is trying to shut it down. I don't know, because he's offering to go in and unalive the highest. I guess maybe this is his great redemption, and this is going to buy him out of his prison time for unaliving that other FBI worker, FBI guy, and his wife, or who, they're pinning that on him. I don't know. Maybe he's just there to save face and make his own sentence a little bit lighter, because we know he's going to do jail. Well, he's assuming and knows that he's going to do jail time because of everything with the two officers in the fire, the officer, his wife, and setting their house on fire. So maybe he's trying to buy some brownie points when it comes time to like stand trial. Like, hey, yeah, I unalived the highest, and he was doing all this stuff and blah 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 blah, just to kind of stack the favor of the court of public opinion when it's time for him to pay the piper. Makes sense to me, but it's a great risk, I'll tell you that. Okay. George is starting to break down under the pressure of everything, and he's telling Lewis, like, I'm losing hope, man. Like, we're going to die in here. Like, it's getting the best of me. And Lewis is giving him, like, some kind of motivational speech about having hope, blase blah, whoop-de-whoop. And George reminds him, like, listen, hope and ambition and all that other good shit is what got us in here, got us in the punishment trailer, and my manhood chopped off and your eyes poked out. So I ain't really got time for the hope. And Lewis tells him, listen, the same hope that got us in the situation is the same hope that's going to free us. And while it sounds very much Martin Luther King, I have a dream speech, it sounds very wonderful. George is making a good point. Like all this harebrained scheming and all this other stuff got us in here, so maybe we're simply stuck. I don't know. Either way, there's something about Lewis's speech and his cadence that gives me the same Obadiah spirit. Let me know, am I onto something there? But all before, his speech patterns were like haphazard, and they were led by emotions. And I guess with his sense of sight being removed, everything else is kind of heightened. And Obadiah has given him the training to make better use of all these different senses, even though he ain't hear that other guard come walking up to the door. George did. Either way, it's given like that Obadiah type of spirit and that planning and that scheming and hey, let's play on people's minds and emotions to get what we need. There's something very Obadiah-esque. And so while in these scenes we see where he uses that type of thing to like play on the guard's emotion that came in there, he's doing that malleable mind type of thing, even though he has not been truly converted like Obadiah thinks. Okay. Lewis tells George that they might need to focus, they must focus, and they got to continue acting like they've been reformed and they've been healed, because they need every man that they can, in case a war breaks out. They can't really unalive them. They got to reform them and make sure they're, recommitted to the Rakadushi mission. And so he tells him, listen, we need to act broken in order to gain their sympathy. And we see that. So the guard, it's a new guard. He's been running all over the place all episode. He goes in there because River told him, like, hey, you're being disobedient. And that's a guard we're going to talk about in the next scene. I just put this in the same section. You're disobedient to me because he refused to lie to Ruth. We'll talk about that in a second. So you need to go in there and see what being defiant gets you. And he went in there to see, and so you see where George and Lewis is playing up their injuries and acting like, everything hurts. And they're just begging and pleading, basically trying to weigh anybody down that's going to gather enough sympathy to take their chains off so they can go ahead and try to escape yet again. Okay. Excuse me. Ruth sends a soldier to find River, that same soldier, so that he can help her calm the highs down. And River is beaten and battered from everything that Obadiah did to him last episode. And so he's like, listen, I'm battered and bruised. I don't have the capacity to deal with that tonight. So you need to tell Ruth that you couldn't find me. Like, I ain't dealing with that. And so the soldier's like, no, I refuse to lie to Supreme Mother Ruth, or Elder Mother Ruth, whatever her name is. And River goes off. He's like, well, what do you think I'm going to do to you? I'm Daikon, and I'm second in command, and blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And that's when he sent him to the trailer to see what an example of defiance, what that gets you. And that's what happened with that. So he is able to get out of having to be sodomized and all these different things and have that anchor taken out on him. And he's probably sick of it anyway. So it makes sense to me, but whatever. Okay, we see the heist, and he wakes up refreshed and rejuvenated just from Ruth's company the night before. I'm sure nothing happened because she's been bleeding and all that other stuff all day, but just her presence has been calming, and he's been able to get a good night's rest, and he's waking up renewed, and he wakes up with a revelation. So the revelation is, as a man, he needs companionship and she needs security. And there are two supreme things that needs to happen to be in alignment with the Rakadushi way. We need to procreate, which, you know, we on task for that. And we need to be in the holy sanctity of marriage. And so in order for us to do that, we need to go and get married, and we need to set an example for our flock. So we get married today. And that sounds great. Well, that sounds great. Sounds amazing, you know, hopeful and all that other good stuff. The issue is your people are not allowed to take wives. So the example isn't needed because they're not going to be allowed to take wives. So that is a moot point, but whatever, child. Here we go with another harebrained scheme from Vision or whatever from Naraku. Okay. Obadiah, confronts River yet again with the note about him being replaced as headmaster. And River tells him, like, oh, this is why you beat me up. I ain't nothing to do with that. Like, I don't even know where this came from. And Obadiah's like, okay, yeah, whatever. But even if it wasn't you, it's your job to get me my place back. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's your job to get me my place back, or you're going to end up meeting the old Daikon face to face. So now he has to convince the highest to give Obadiah his place back so that he doesn't get unalived. But I don't know why that's his cross to bear, but Obadiah knows that River is not as, he's really not about it. So of course he's malleable. He's afraid at least one time per episode and quivering or looking for Ruth to help him out. So he knows that he can, you know, do the bravado thing or use the fact that he unalived Anthony Daikon to get what he wants out of River. So River has to get crafty to get him back in his spot. I'm sure to keep going on what he needs to go on. And that ties back to other episode where River, why in the godforsaken hell would you mention the money to this dude and now he done beat you up soon after? I'm sure that little partnership is out the window now because you don't think long game. You just think it with emotion. And Ruth is still in charge of the girls. Okay. We see Ruth, and she has on her white dress, and she's headed down to the altar. She's sashaying down the pavilion, but she's kind of getting lightheaded. She's getting kind of wonky, and I'm surely that's from all the bleeding she's been doing, let's just say all day. And as she's walking up, she passes out, and there's blood everywhere, and everybody in the pavilion can see it. It's coming from, you know, her nether regions, and as she comes to, Obadiah's telling the highest, like, that is most certainly from her body absolving her of the baby, you know, from her miscarrying. And so that is going to be an issue we're surely going to address next week. Now, I'm pretty sure that the highest is barely hanging on to sanity, and he's going to accuse her of something related to it. Now, what do y'all think? I think that she may have taken like a herb or something that would assist her in getting rid of this baby, and just blame it on stress, or blame it on, she can't just say stress for a crazy person like the highest. So she probably going to play it off saying, you know, the Raku thought that it wasn't time to bring him into this tumultuous world with the government outside the gate. She's going to be able to talk him down. However, I think when she was surprised that she was actually with child, so she had to do something to get rid of it, because girl, who bringing a child to this world by Tyrone Luckett? And so I think she probably forced the A word on herself. That's my guess. I don't know. What do y'all think? Or maybe she's stressed because she has been having like emotional type of outbreaks all episode. Like, you know, saying, hey, y'all call me for everything. Leave me alone. Figure it out yourself. I don't know. What y'all think? I'm willing to believe she did it intentionally, but maybe it's a bit much. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. Either way, that has been Ruthless. That's been season 5, episode 13. Let me know what you think about the episode. Let's talk about it in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. I'll see you next one. Peace.